You're listening to Saturday Morning Media. And now, back to our show. Here we go. Welcome to the Grantcast, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Grant Baciocco, and it is a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. Thank you for taking the time to check out the Grantcast, the show where me, Grant Baciocco, just talks and rambles, although we do have a little bit of a guided sort of plan that we're going to get through here today. This is the first podcast I'm recording in 2026. The last podcast came out in 2026, but it was recorded in 2025. So this is the first official one of the new year. I hope you had a great holiday, and I hope you had a happy new year, and I hope we all have a real kick-ass New year. Before we get going, I do want to send a special thank you out to all the Patreon patrons over at Saturday Morning Media's Patreon. It's really appreciative. We've had a bunch of new people just join, and that's been really awesome. So thank you for taking the time to support the fine content that we have. I think it's fine, from Saturday Morning Media. I really appreciate it. We'll talk more about that at the very end of the episode. All right, we have sort of a goal. We have sort of a plan here in the podcast today, and that is I have gone back through my photo albums in the past year, and I have picked one photo from each month to talk about, and then all these photos will be in the show notes for this episode, so if you want to check out these photos, you certainly can. And I just think this would be I did this once, I think in 2022 maybe, and I haven't done it before, but I was like, I would like to get back into doing this because I think this is a lot of fun. So let's start with January 2025. And actually, the only picture I have for January 2025 is a picture of Harvey, and it's an adorable picture of Harvey. Harvey is, we think, 11 years old. He was 11 years old in 2025, so he'll be 12 this year. Because when we got him, he was already almost a year old, and we got him in 2015. So he's a senior gentleman, but he's hilarious and he's wonderful. I also just remember talking about, and I talked about this on the podcast, is January, I was really just having a rough time because of this noise in my ear, like this constant pounding in my ear. And I stopped drinking soda pop at the beginning of the year. I don't think it was in January. I think it was maybe in February or March. And the moment I stopped drinking soda pop, Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi, the pounding in my ear stopped. So looking at this picture of Harvey, he is adorable, he is cute, but all I can think of in January was the constant thrumming in my ear, just like somebody was just doing that constantly on my eardrum. So I am I'm very happy to not have that anymore, and I'm extremely happy to have Harvey. All right, moving on to February 2025, I have this sort of weird off-kilter picture that was taken at the Bob Baker Marionette Theater. This was taken in February, and this is where I moderated a panel discussion talking to the puppeteers from Pee-wee's Playhouse. Now, you can listen to this. It's on underthepuppet.com. It was I believe the March episode. And this was just a super fun evening. Kevin Carlson, George McGrath, Allison Mork, Wayne White, and Rick Heitzman, and Christine Papalexis was sort of like the co-host to the whole thing. And it was just a lot of fun. It was sold out. It was one of the fastest sellouts that they've ever had in Bob Baker Marionette Theater history. And I may have attended the thing that sold out as fast or faster, which we'll get to later on in the month, also later on in the year in the Bob Baker Marionette Theater. But this was just a wonderful event, and it was an honor to be asked to do this. I was very excited that we could use it for Under the Puppet. I want to do more live events like this. I just need a live event show producer to help me put it together because Luckily, I did not. I didn't. I will. All I had to do here was come up with questions and go there and interview the folks, and that's what I would love to do. So listen, I am looking for a live show producer, and I know there's a lot of people who can go, I can do it. I can do it. You need to live in Los Angeles, very close. And I'm not. When I say producer, I'm not asking for somebody to pay money to put on these shows. I'm just looking for someone to take care of the details. I did a live show in December. A picture of that did not wind up on my list, but I did a live show in December, and it was very stressful, and the venue promised a lot of details, and then when I got there, the details were not taken care of. And I'm going off on December now. This is some whole just tangent that we're on. But the thing is the venue promised things, and I paid an extra $75 to have the show live streamed. And they told me in an email that the $75 would pay for a person to be there running the live stream. Well, the sound guy ran the live stream, and the sound guy was supposed to be running sound, and there were a lot of issues with the live stream, and I kind of feel that I got ripped off for that $75. So I would love a producer to help me put on live shows like Toily, like Under the Puppet Lives, who could just their role is to not pay or to rent out the venue or anything like that. I'm taking care of that, just to produce the show and be in touch with the venue and talk to them about okay, so you're going to have a separate person there running sound. Well, it's going to be this. Okay, well then we're not going to pay this money. And anyway, if that's you, if you're in the Los Angeles area, I don't know how many people in Los Angeles listen to these podcasts, but if you would like to help me produce shows, I would love to talk to you about helping me produce shows in the Los Angeles area. So get in touch. Anyway, wonderful event in February at the Bob Baker Marionette Theater, and I would love to do more. Right after that, it was such a success, we talked about some other ones we wanted to do, and they just never materialized. But anyway, a great time was had. It was a lot of fun, and let's do more. Moving on to March, I have a picture of Beanie and Cecil. And not only is it a picture of Beanie and Cecil, it is a picture of the actual Beanie and Cecil puppets, because these were on display at the Hollywood Heritage Museum. And what was really cool was they were not behind glass. They were not hidden. I mean, you couldn't touch them. You were not supposed to. I guess you could have touched them, but you could literally get just less than a foot away from these puppets, and you could really look at them. I took so many pictures from this day, just close-ups of the puppets and how they were made. There were other puppets from other shows that originated from Southern California as well, but to see, the reason I went was Beanie and Cecil, and it was such an amazing thing to see them in person. I would love a puppet. I just love puppets like Cecil, the C6 Sea Serpent, because they're just so simple, but they just have a lot of personality. So it was very cool to see those in person, up close, at the Hollywood Heritage Museum. Moving on to April. In April, I went to the Los Angeles Breakfast Club. Now, if you've never heard of the Los Angeles Breakfast Club, it is a club that has been going for 100 years. I think it was 100 years, 2025, so this will be its 101st year. And it is just this breakfast club that meets in Los Angeles every Wednesday. You have to get there at 6:30, I believe, or that's when the doors open and breakfast starts. And then the presentations start right at 7 o'clock. And I have been there before because they did an event. And what happens at these events is there's sort of like these procedures that they go through. You know, it's like a club. So it's like, oh, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do our calisthenics, and we're gonna say the oath, and we're gonna sing a song, and we're gonna do this. But then they always have a certain presentation, and it was very cool because April was a tribute to celebrate Dr. Demento. And of course I had to go to that. And it was fantastic. He did like a little mini Dr. Demento's show, and it was all focused around songs, novelty songs about Los Angeles and the surrounding cities and stuff like that. So it was really cool. I hope that it was audio recorded, and maybe we could see that show up on drdemento.com. Continuing with Dr. Demento, this 2025 was his final year of producing the Dr. Demento show. So that was sad. And I listened to all those retrospective shows he did. I was very honored to be included in some of those retrospective shows that he did. And it is sad not to have a new Dr. Demento show. I've been a member of the website for many, many years, and he wasn't broadcast on the radio anymore. But it was sad, and it was funny. He did the top. It was the top 50 songs of all time, the most requested songs, and the number one song. Spoiler alert! But if you haven't heard now, you're way behind. But the number one song was Fish Heads by Barnes & Barnes. And it really affected me listening to, I think I've talked about this on the podcast before, but listening to Fish Heads and knowing that this was the last new Dr. Demento show, I started tearing up. And if you would have asked me which comedy song I would tear up during, it would not be Fish Heads, but that was it. So it was great to see Dr. Demento. Also in April, I don't know how this happened, but I got invited to Dr. Demento's birthday party, which was really, really awesome. And it's always just a great group of people to hang out with, and of course, hang out with Dr. Demento. Well, on April 27th, 2025, I packed my bags and I headed to North Georgia for one whole month. I was in Georgia for the entire month of May, and it was an experience. It was for a sort of live, interactive, I would say like sort of the easiest thing to compare it to is a Renaissance festival on steroids. And so it was this live, interactive sort of fantasy fairies, dragons, trolls type of event, and where you could just you went to this beautiful castle, the Uhuberg Castle in Helen, Georgia, and you walked around and you interacted with characters, and one of the characters you interacted with was Twigglenok the Gnome, and I was puppeteering Twigglenok the Gnome. And it was a wonderful experience. I love puppetry. I love puppet improv. I love improvising with puppets. That is my strength, I think. If I was to toot my own horn, that's where I would toot it. I will say that being away for a month, it was not without trials and tribulations, but got through them. And, it was a great time. There was some talk that they were going to do it again, but I just got an email from them saying that they were not going to, it was like a group email, that they're not planning on doing it in the spring. Will it happen later in the year? Maybe it'll happen later in the year, but anyway, it was just a super fun time, and an experience. I don't know if at the end I made a lot of money because of certain things that happened, but I made money, and it was a fun experience. I got to work with Steve Whitmire, former Kermit the Frog with the Muppets, and he was the puppet captain, and just really, really passionate about puppets, and it was the first time I'd worked with him, so that was a lot of fun. And the rest of the puppet crew who was there were just fantastic as well. And so it was a fun time. Yeah, and if they asked me to go back, I would, but we would have to have some discussions beforehand to make sure some more things were nailed down that weren't nailed down. See, we're talking about the live show. I like when things are nailed down, and I like then I can just have a solid base to perform on. So there you go. Helen, Georgia, the Mirth and Mischief event is my event for May. Going to June, and for June, I have a picture of ventriloquist Nina Conti and, oh my gosh, Shanoa Allen, and they are doing a talkback after a screening of their film called Sunlight, which was here in Los Angeles, and This was my movie of the year. I didn't see a ton of movies this year. I saw a fair amount of movies this year, but Sunlight was my movie of the year. And so I just remember this night seeing the film and then the talk back. And I had interviewed Nina Conti on Under the Puppet, so I said a quick hello to her after the show. And the film was just brilliant. And I bought it, and I've watched it, I think, 2 or 3 times since. But for the rest of that week after seeing it, that movie just stayed with me. And it was funny, and it was weird, and it was a little bit sexy, and it was crazy, and there were some gross parts. And it's just crazy. It's just an amazing film. If you have not seen Sunlight, please go see Sunlight. For July, I took a little trip to Baltimore, and I went out there for a gaming convention for one of the tabletop games that I play. And the gaming convention was great. There were some hotel issues. I always seem to have hotel issues, but there were some hotel issues, but things were great. It was a fun time. But on, I believe, the second to last day, this actually isn't a picture. It is a video. So I don't know if that technically counts, but it was very hard to capture with pictures, is that I saw fireflies for the first time. And I have wanted to see fireflies for a very long time, and I was finally able to see fireflies. And with all the traveling back and forth I've done, it like the tours I've done across the country, I was always in places with fireflies just right after or right before they were going to be there. So this was crazy, and it was crazy that I was walking on this industrial road that led to the Baltimore airport. And that's where I saw fireflies for the first time. So this video is, there's traffic going by like crazy, but it was very, very cool to see fireflies for the very first time. I would cross that off the bucket list. All right, moving on to August. And we are back at the Bob Baker Marionette Theater because I got to go to a very, very cool event at the Bob Baker Marionette Theater. And that is the album release party for my favorite band, The Beths. And it was very cool because, I worked at the Bob Baker Marionette Theater. I did that event just a few months earlier at the Bob Baker Marionette Theater. And to see my favorite band play songs off their new album at the Bob Baker Marionette Theater was just very, very cool. I got a picture with Liz and John after the show. I do regret not getting pictures with Tristan and Ben, and I do regret not having them autograph my recorder. Now, you're probably saying, wait, it was a record release. What is the recorder? Well, they have a song called No Joy that features the recorders. And for their album release parties, they did one in New York and one here in Los Angeles. They gave everybody who attended a recorder. And I should have had them autograph my recorder. That's what I should have done. But I always get this thing, like when I'm meeting people like that, is to be like, I don't want to bother them. I felt bad enough. I got a picture. I don't want to bother them again. So I should have gotten autographs, but the other thing is, in the Beth's Discord server, they have a Discord channel that is for people to post pictures of their pets. And I have posted 2 pictures of Harvey, and they have commented on both pictures of Harvey. So I did bring Liz stickers, because we have stickers. Brian Ohm, who's a great artist, did what do you call it? A little kind of emoji of Harvey's face, and I had them turned into stickers. And so I did give Liz a couple stickers of Harvey, which I don't know. I thought that would be fun. And it would be different from what other people might give her, because it's like, oh, I know that Liz likes this dog because she's commented on it. Here's a sticker of that dog. So that was a lot of fun. The new album is really, really great. It's very weird because I realized this the other day. It's like through the end of December and the beginning of this new year, I haven't listened to it as much as I obsessively listened to it starting in August. Actually, back in May when I was in Georgia, that's when the first single from the album came out. And that was like my most listened to song for 2025, according to my iPhone. So I listened to it a lot, and I know it'll come back around here in the new year. Moving on to September. Well, September is another movie thing, and that is that I flew up to the San Francisco Bay Area to see Spinal Tap 2 with my English teacher. Actually, he was never my English teacher, but Mr. Morgan. It's very hard for me to call him Glenn Morgan, but Mr. Morgan from my Burlingame High School, the high school I went to. And when we were at high school, when I was a senior, I convinced Mr. Morgan and Mr. Kimura, the band teacher, to dress up as Spinal Tap and do a short 3-song, actually it was like 2.5-song concert for the drama awards at our school. So when Spinal Tap 2 was coming out, we absolutely said, we've got to go see this. We've got to go do it. And so I flew up just for the day. I flew up in the morning. We went and saw the film. We had lunch, and I flew back at night. And it was a great time. And I'm very happy that I did it. And it was also, I'll say, it's a whole experience when you travel with absolutely no luggage whatsoever. It's very freeing. You are constantly just going, wait, what did I get the thing? Where was the thing? But anyway, it was very, very fun. I enjoyed it. And we have plans. I think he's going to come down here for when the Spinal Tap concert film comes out, where they played at Stonehenge. And that's supposed to be out at some point this year. But I think it might have gotten pushed back due to the tragedy involving Rob Reiner. So, but hopefully, when that comes out, Mr. Morgan, Glenn, and I can get back together again to go see that. Moving on to October. October was interesting because I made a very quick trip to Louisville, Kentucky. And I don't think I've ever been to Louisville, Kentucky. Maybe I did on one of the tours. But anyway, somebody had reached out and they said, we're shooting a cooking show, and we would like Toily to be on the cooking show. And I said, hell yes, let's do it. So I flew out, and the picture I have for this is very funny because when I got to the green room, they had a little tiny cup of like coffee, just little itty bitty, like Toily sized cup of coffee, and then a little tiny script for Toily. And I just thought that was really hilarious. So I have that picture. I think let me take a look at this picture. You can kind of read it, what it is, but I don't want to give any spoilers away. But I'm very excited to see this show when it finally comes out, wherever it comes out, because this was the first time kind of somebody asked Toily to be a guest star as himself on something, and I would love to do more of that. And yeah, it was very, very cool to get to go do that. And the whole crew was fantastic. It was a weird shoot in that it was shot in a big barn on like a big farm, kind of ranch type place. And yeah, it was very interesting, that aspect of it, but it was so much fun, and we had a lot of fun, and it's just so fun to get to play with Toily, do more puppet improv, play with Toily, interacting, just as if he is the superstar that he is. Moving on to November 20th, this is when this picture was taken, and this picture was taken in a garage of a house. And I am not in this picture, but it is a picture of Russ Walco, my friend, who's an amazing puppet builder, puppeteer, just an amazing friend, and my friend Genevieve Flotti, who is also just an incredibly creative fireball. Like, Genevieve is incredible. And this was a little short film shoot that we got to work on, a SAG short film shoot. It's a horror movie. I don't want to give too much of it away. There is a puppet involved. When this comes out, it's definitely one I will be promoting. But the reason I took this picture was it was a fun shoot. It's two very, very good friends of mine that I was very happy to work with. They are both unaware that I took this picture of them. And it was a fun shoot in that the puppet character had RC controlled eyes. So his eyes, his blinks, they could blink together or blink separately, like he could wink or he could just squint his eyes or whatever. And so I got to control the RC eyes for the first time, and that's the first time anyone has trusted me to do RC controlled eyes. So that was really, really cool. It was a fun aspect. It was just a fun shoot to get to work with Russ and to get to work with Genevieve. I had worked on a shoot earlier that month, and things were a little rocky going into that other shoot, and it was just a little, and then things were rocky afterwards, trying to get paid for that shoot. I eventually did get paid, but I think I talked about that on the podcast as well. And so this was just a nice, fun shoot, and we got paid the moment we were done. So that was excellent, and that was a lot of fun. And yeah, and so I like this picture. I like this picture a lot. This is also kind of around that. Well, I had started it before. I think I started it at the end of October, but where I really started working on eating right, using the new map to start losing weight. And it has really worked. And so my other thought kind of this shoot is like at the craft service table, like only getting the bananas and the fruit and all that other stuff, because I knew that, I was really focused on losing weight, and I'm very, 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 very today, very close to my first big goal. And I'm very excited about it because I think that will happen in the next couple of days. So anyway, November was an interesting time, but I really appreciated being part of this shoot because it was, it was just good people having fun, and we had a great time. And speaking of good people and having fun, on December 21st, bringing us up to the end of the year, my friend Russ Walco and I drove out to Claremont, California. It's about a 45-minute drive from Burbank. It can also always depend on traffic, so it could get pushed to an hour, but I think it took us 45 minutes there. We drove on a Sunday, it was December 21st, to go see a live performance / taping of Far Outpost. Far Outpost, I don't think I've talked about on the show before, so forgive me if I had, but if you're new here, Far Outpost is a web series, but it is shot live in front of a audience, a small audience, usually of kids, and it is a puppet show. And I think if you just watch one of these videos, watching it for like 2 minutes, you will see that it's heavily influenced by Mystery Science Theater 3000. And Russ and I have wanted to go out and see a taping of this show for a long time, and we finally got a message. We finally coordinated it where we could go out. They were doing sort of this open house thing. I will say that it is a puppet show at a church. It is what I think is probably I haven't seen a ton of them, but this is the best church ministry puppetry. Puppet ministry has been a thing for decades and decades and decades, just for a super long time, using puppets to teach about the Bible and all that kind of stuff. This is the best one. This is without a doubt, it's the best one. It's also, here's what I love about puppet stuff. I do not care if you have a message in your puppet show. A lot of times you will see this. It's like, oh, I wrote a play about ecology and saving the environment, and so it's with puppets, and it's all about this. And that's great. That's fine. But the way I like my puppetry with messages is it has to be entertaining. So you can have the greatest show that talks about the plight of the killer whales, but it's so full of sort of the preaching at you that it's just not entertaining. Far Outpost is funny. It's technically brilliant. It is the set is beautiful. It's a lot of care and thought has gone into it, but it is entertaining. And then there is the Bible message that will pop into the show. But it's also not the whole show. It's also not constantly drilled into you. This is what the Bible says about this. No, it's like a really entertaining show. And then there's a little moral at the end of the thing. And I think that's great. I haven't been in church in a billion years, but I loved this. And it was so great to meet the amazing people behind it. Definitely going to be interviewing them on Under the Puppet in the coming year. And it was just really inspiring. It was one of those things where I went and I watched it and I was like, this is the dream. This is the dream where you can just create a new show each week and you build props for the show all week. And then it's like Beanie and Cecil. Beanie and Cecil, they did that every day, Monday through Friday. But it's the same thing. And so it was really cool getting to see Far Outpost. And I did bring Toily, and they were like, "Did you bring Toily?" And I go, "I did, but I don't know if like he kind of fits in with the church thing." And they were like, "No, we are absolutely getting a picture with Toily for sure." So very, very cool, and a great way to round out the year and go right into Christmas and all that kind of stuff. There you go. There's my year. What a year. Georgia. I'm trying to think of all the states. Georgia, Baltimore, Kentucky. Did I go into any other states? And then, I flew to Northern California. I didn't get up to Oregon this year to see my parents, but hopefully this year I can get that done. And I'll be traveling next week because when this podcast goes out, Puppet Up will be performing at the Palace of Fine Arts Theater. You'll hear this will go out the morning of the 17th. So if you're in the San Francisco Bay Area, you may still have time. We have shows at 5 and 9 today, depending on when you hear this. So there you go. All right, folks. Well, there's the year in review. Thank you for coming along with me on that year in review. I hope you enjoyed it. And I will talk to you very, very soon on the next episode of the Grantcast. This episode of the Grantcast was made possible by the Saturday Morning Media Patreon patrons who've gone to patreon.com/Saturday Morning Media and set up a pledge for as little as $1 a month. Patrons at the behind-the-scenes level and above get access to a video of the recording of these episodes, and all patrons get access to the commercial-free audio of these episodes the moment they are edited. Big shout out to all of our patrons for making this show possible, and a special shout out to our patron producers, Kathy Crawford, Eve Cunning, David Akers, Tony Urbano, Brandy, Scott Armstrong, Paul, Ricky Chavez, Lee Thompson, and Macy Thomas. If you'd like to become a patron and receive commercial-free episodes of the Grantcast before they are released, visit patreon.com/Saturday Morning Media and set up your monthly pledge today. And thank you for your support. This episode of the Grantcast is copyright 2026 Saturday Morning Media Grant Baciocco, executive producer, all rights reserved. www.saturdaymorningmedia.com.
You've been listening to Saturday Morning Media. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.